Hey everyone, what's going on? Earlier tonight, I was scrolling through my Facebook, the feed, and I saw someone posted this article about Goldberg the Goalie being arrested for public intoxication. And it actually happened on Saturday, but all of the mainstream media stories are reporting about it today on August 6th. And if you've been following my channel, what I talk about on this channel is signs, symbolism, and how it is interrelated into ancient knowledge that is still being practiced today by certain people who are using it to rule over us. But there's also this world code that we truly live in. Gematria is the practice of coding numbers into words and phrases, and it stems back to things such as Kabbalah, which is Jewish mysticism that has the belief that God created the world by merging the letter with the number. And there's also things such as Hermeticism, which is another thing of ancient knowledge that has, certain principles, basically something like everything is the opposite and everything is the same, such as, living is truly just dying, and something that is hot is really just a different degree of cold, and something that is cold is a different degree of hot. And within Hermeticism is the belief that everything has a vibration as well. That's one of the principles in Hermeticism. And so signs and symbols and words, they all have a vibration. And if you understand Gematria, you see the coding that is behind these signs, symbolism, these phrases. That's what I am explaining on this channel. And I had some crazy synchronicity going on tonight, and it reminds me of back in December when I had this synchronicity with the Pink, the singer. And I said in December, a month before she was even announced to sing the national anthem at the Super Bowl, I said I think Pink might sing the national anthem at the Super Bowl because of all these signs, symbolism, things that were going on in my life. And that's sort of what this video is going to be about. So hopefully you understand what I'm saying. But I mean, even just think about like the Beach Boys song, good, 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 good vibrations. People say they have a bad vibe or a good vibe. Most people don't really think about what that actually means. It means that there are vibrations that are good and bad, and when you pick up on these things, I mean, it truly exists in this world. So if you're a skeptic, just watch some of my other videos. You'll see what I'm talking about. And possibly I'll break these up into different videos at some other point in time, but I doubt it. Because all of this is truly interrelated, and that's what I'm trying to get the point across, and that's why some of these videos are always so long. So anyway, what's so interesting about this Duck Bus, or this Mighty Ducks player, the goalie, being arrested now, is just recently I talked about how there was this drowning theme that I was noticing. We had this rapper XXX Tentacion's cousin supposedly drowned in a pool, and I randomly wanted to listen to the band Drowning Pool on the date of 7/2, and Drowning Pool equals 72, and much, much more. I'll leave some links in the description. But there was also a hockey player named Ray Emery, or Ray or Roy, I can't, Ray Emery, I think. And he was the media marketed him as a Philadelphia Flyers goalie. And it reminded me of the movie The Mighty Ducks, because Goldberg the Goalie in the movie The Mighty Ducks, he says he's going to be moving back to Philly, and then he never moves back to Philly throughout the whole movie. And in this video right here, I believe, yeah, this video right here, I said in the video, possibly we're going to get another drowning story in the mainstream media, and the very next day we got this duck boat, people drowning on the duck boat. Think about that in regards to the Mighty Ducks and people drowning, right? And that's what I was following, this theme, the Mighty Ducks, and then we get a duck boat drowning, and now we're getting the story of the Mighty Ducks goalie being arrested. What are the odds of that? The Mighty Ducks goalie Now he's in the mainstream media for being, you know, a public intox of all things to be in the mainstream media for. That seems like a, a very minor offense, really, to be popularized in the mainstream media. A public intox. I mean, yeah, he looks like he's a huge crackhead and whatever else, and he's skinny as crap now, but they're bringing this story up on this certain date for a certain reason, and that's what I'm going to show you. So, if you look this guy up, you find out all of the news things are reporting that he's 38 years old, which makes me think that he might possibly actually die within the next year, because the word death equals 38, and murder equals 38, RIP equals 38. It's a number that's often seen around death, and they're all reporting that he's 38. But if you go to his Wikipedia and you go to the IMDb, they both say that his birthday is August 27th, 1978, so he's actually 39 years old. And the reason that's so important is because that duck boat crash happened 39 days before his birthday. And he's 39 years old, and his name in Gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words, just so happens to equal 39, and also the word duck equals 39. And also on May 19th, earlier this year, I talked about, my friend Sam had made this video, or a post on it on May 19th about how there was a strange duck theme that he noticed. And it was interesting because it was May 19th, and when I watched his video on it, I realized that on May 19th, the only thing that I watched on TV that day, I randomly watched part of the Mighty Ducks, and I thought, that's pretty weird. He's making this video about a duck theme, and I noticed that on the day that he was talking about that, I also had something going on. I watched the Mighty Ducks, and some other person also told me I looked like Fulton from the Mighty Ducks. And I pointed out that Aurora Bridge, where that duck bus crash happened in Seattle, that equals 519. And, the date of 519. So I was like, that's pretty interesting stuff. So there was this duck stuff that was going on. But anyway, if you go from May 19th to Goldberg the Goalie's birthday, it's also a span of 3 months and 9 days. 3 months and 9 days. So another 39 that goes along with what I've been following. And what's even more interesting is if you look this guy up, you find out that the last movie that he was in, he was a bus driver, which is interesting with the duck bus crash that was in Seattle. But the last movie he was in was Drillbit Taylor. And when you look up Drillbit Taylor, you find out that the writer of the movie was John Hughes, who, he wrote a lot of famous movies such as Home Alone and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. But this was the last movie that was released before he had died or whatever. And the last film as a writer before his death on August 6th of 2009. And what is today? The day that we're getting this story about Goldberg the Goalie? It is August 6th, the same day that the writer of the last movie that he was in died, August 6th. And what's interesting about this as well is just recently I documented about John Hughes because I was talking about the Chicago Cubs and how Ferris Bueller's Day Off, I have a video on this as well about Ferris Bueller's Day Off in 2016. That movie was actually showing us the Cubs to play the Indians in the World Series. Even in the beginning of the video, he's sleeping with the Native American blanket, and his birthday synced up to the World Series and whatnot. And we just got a story in the mainstream media. Let me pull it up really quick. We just got a story in the mainstream media about the Ferris Bueller's Day Off Ferrari going up for auction. This car right here. And I made a blog post on it talking about how we had the death of Gordie Howe that year. And I think, wasn't it? Yeah, Gordie Howe. His friend who, in the movie, his friend Cameron, this is his dad's car that they steal, right? And his friend Cameron is wearing a Detroit whatever they are in hockey, a Detroit, can't think of their, whatever the team is in hockey, but he's wearing a Detroit jersey, and they go to the baseball game that was showing us the Cubs and whatnot. But anyway, he's wearing a Gordie Howe jersey, I believe it was, and Gordie Howe had died in connection to the Cubs winning the World Series that I had talked about in 2016 as well, about how Gordie Howe was seemingly synced up to the Chicago Cubs winning the World Series. And then also in the World Series during Game 5, in one of at the after game show, they had this person holding up a sign that said, "I'm Abe Froman," which is a thing that comes from the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off and whatnot. So there was a whole bunch of stuff that was going on with Ferris Bueller to the Cubs and the Indians. And I noticed that this car is up for auction now. And I was thinking about the duck themes along with it, and how the principal in Ferris Bueller's Day Off is also the dark overlord in the movie Howard the Duck, one of my childhood favorite movies. I loved that movie when I was a kid. Everybody hates it, but Howard the Duck was like an awesome movie, the master of quack foo and his little duck condom, and I didn't even get that when I was a kid, but so the principal at Ferris Bueller's Day Off is also the dark overlord in Howard the Duck, and I talked about that. And I also talked about how LeBron James equals 114, and he joined the Lakers 114 days before the 114th World Series, and he left Cleveland to go to Los Angeles. But Howard the Duck, the film is set in Cleveland, and we just had the story about the Akron Rubber Ducks retiring LeBron James's jersey. So once again, something to do with the Ducks. And Ferris Bueller came out in the year 86, just like Howard the Duck. And that was the year that the Red Sox, the Bill Buckner thing, where the Red Sox and the Curse of the Bambino in the year 86. So the Red Sox lost to the Mets in the World Series. And, Curse of the Bambino equals 86, and then they lost in the year 86. And then they actually broke the curse 86 years after the curse was set and whatever else, all synced up by the numbers. But these two films came out 51 days apart, which is a big number that was synced up to Cleveland. Cleveland equals 51, Cleveland Cavs 51, Quicken Loans equals 51, LeBron James equals 51. And they won a sports championship in 2016 for the first time in 51 years. Also, Abe Froman equals 51. So, Howard the Duck was synced up, to Ferris Bueller, and also pointing us to Cleveland yet again. And Ferrari equals 114 and 51, and also 48, so 51, like reminding us of Cleveland, also 114, reminding us of the 114th World Series, and the number 48, the Indians haven't won since the year 48, and, Donald Trump had the biggest election upset just after that, and The Simpsons since the year 48, and Mike Pence became the 48th vice president. Think about Mike Pence from Indiana, the land of the Indian. The word wall equals 48. Mexican-American War equals 48. Think about that wall. Donald Trump wins the election on the anniversary of the Berlin Wall coming down. And, I'm losing my train of thought here. I was going to say that the Simpsons episode where Bart Simpson learns that Donald Trump is the president before the first woman president, right? Or before Lisa is the president. He has that vision at the Indian casino. And Trump has been all about the racism and everything else. And he even called the one lady Pocahontas, right? There's a lot of Native American theming that's going along with Trump. Trump's national convention was in Cleveland just after Cleveland won the NBA Finals. Then we have him calling out LeBron James and saying LeBron James is stupid. Donald Trump has a big connection to Cleveland. And I also pointed out that Ferris Bueller's Day Off equals 148, just like Cleveland Indians, Donald J. Trump also equals 148. And the guy who plays Cameron, his dad's Ferrari it was, that they're auctioning off, Alan Ruck, his birthday, July 1st, which is the same day LeBron James signed with the Los Angeles Lakers, which is 114 days before the 114th World Series. And his name in Gematria equals 810, which is the same day that Rocky Colavito was born. And the Indians are cursed by the curse of Rocky Colavito because he got traded to Detroit. And the Cubs were also cursed by the curse of the Billy Goat when they were playing Detroit. And the last time that they had won a World Series in 1908, they were playing Detroit. And I talked about all this in previous stuff, but this big number 624 is important. Rocky Colavito equals 624. Detroit Tigers equals 624 this year. The Indians and Detroit played on 624. So, and there's much more that goes along with it, but that number is really big with the Indian stuff. So, anyway, I looked up John Hughes because he wrote the movie famous for Ferris Bueller's Day Off and whatnot, and also all these other movies. And I noticed that he died. Well, I just put together something right now. His birthday's 2/18, and August 6th is the 218th day of the year. And he was born in the year 50. Later on in this video, I'm going to talk about the synchronicity I had with Pink, the singer again, and also with Alex Jones today, the conspiracy theory guy, right? He got banned from whatever, YouTube and Facebook and all that. So, or he got completely kicked off of them, right? So, and the word conspiracy theory equals 218. So it's a perfect day for that to happen, but I never realized John Hughes was born on 2/18 as well. But I will explain that more as later on in this video. Just keep it in mind, because when I predicted that I thought Pink would sing the national anthem at the Super Bowl, it was because of synchronicity I had with Alex Jones. So anyway, I looked up this John Hughes guy, and he died in 2009, so I thought I'll look up the 2009 World Series. And I went and looked it up, and it was the Yankees actually beat who did they beat? I don't even remember who they beat. Philadelphia Phillies? Yeah. The Yankees beat the Philadelphia Phillies, but every time you would like hover over the link of the New York Yankees on here, it would bring up a Chicago Cubs thing, and when you clicked on it, it would take you to the Chicago Cubs 2009 season. And I was like, well, that's pretty weird. I'm talking about the Cubs like crazy here. John Hughes, he even died in New York City, and then he was buried in Chicago, which seems weird, you know. He was buried in Chicago, but he died in New York City. But I noticed that this World Series, it came to an end on November 4th, a lot like 114. And in 2001, you know, when the Yankees upset the Mariners to go on to the World Series, that World Series ended on 11/4 as well, November 4th. And I'm trying to think what I was going to talk about. So, yeah, I mean, it kept doing that. So I went to the editing thing to see when Wikipedia actually changed that. And when you look it up, it actually, the last time it was revised was on June 11th, which is the day that Ferris Bueller came out in the year 1986. And then they changed it to the Chicago Cubs thing on July 20th, which is the anniversary of the eagle landing on the moon. And if you followed my channel, the eagle landing on the moon and the moon symbolism is absolutely super important to the Chicago Cubs. They even played a bunch of their position players on that day, and the Stoneman Douglas stuff that was synced up to the eagle landing on the moon and the Philadelphia Eagles winning the Super Bowl. You know, so what are the odds someone would just randomly change this on July 20th? And like, really think about it. Why is someone changing the 2009 World Series in 2018? It doesn't make any sense. You think that the stuff that is written in there would be normal. Why is someone going in here and changing a link for absolutely no reason, you know? And what else I pointed out in this post was that if you go from June 11th to the day that they changed it, it was a span of 39 days. And New York equals 39. And Ferris Bueller, it came out on the 162nd day, which is a big number important to baseball. Major League Baseball equals 162. They play 162 regular season games. MLB equals 162. You know, so I pointed all of this out, and I'm going to go back to this Goldberg post, or maybe. I just wanted to point out that it's important to Goldberg because of this movie Drillbit Taylor. So, John Hughes, the guy who he wrote Drillbit Taylor. This was his last movie before he died, and this is also the last movie that Goldberg the Goalie, or his real name Sean Weiss or Weiss, was in, right? So there's this connection between that. And then the story of him comes out on 8/6, and John Hughes died on 8/6. Ferris Bueller also, you know, came out in 86. And then of course, you know, the principal in Ferris Bueller is the Dark Overlord in Howard the Duck that's set in Cleveland. And if you go from August 6th to the day the World Series begins this year, it's 78 days, which is interesting because, you know, New York equals 78, but Cleveland also equals 78. And it's also, this is the day that leaves 147 days in the year, and the word World Series equals 147. And the Duck bus crash was exactly 147 weeks before the Duck boat crash. So there's a super synchronicity thing with the Indians and the Yankees, and all year my original thought on the World Series this year was the Cubs versus the Yankees, but I don't know, the more and more I keep following this, I feel like the Yankees are showing me the Indians to be in the World Series. So could be vice versa. I could have been right the whole time. The Yankees are going to be in the World Series. I really think the Indians are going to win the World Series this year. There's way too much of things that seem to be syncing up to the Indians to be in the World Series, but you know, it could possibly be all of this Indian stuff is just showing me the Yankees in a roundabout way. Anyway, if you go to Goldberg the Goalie's birthday, August 27th to the World Series, it's 57 days, and World Series of Small Way equals 57. And his birthday is the 239th day of the year, which is important to all of the flag symbolism and Donald Trump calling out the flag and whatever else, you know, on 23/9. 239 is the 52nd prime. This all comes after Super Bowl 52. I'll leave a link to him calling out, telling LeBron James and Don Lemon they're stupid. That was all about the flag and the number 52. Donald Trump born on Flag Day. I also pointed out that John Hughes wrote the film called Dutch, which last year was really important to what I was talking about. And we got the death of Darren Dalton on August 6th, and his nickname was Dutch. And he was synced up to the Astros winning the World Series. So I guess, you know, it's something to think about. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe it's just show me the Astros again, but I don't think so. And I'll explain a little bit more why I think later on. But in that film, and when I documented about that film, I talked about Christopher McDonald, who plays Shooter McGavin on Happy Gilmore, and there's a bunch of earthquake symbolism connected to Philadelphia in the movie Happy Gilmore. He learns how to putt on the earthquake golf course at like an hour and 7 minutes into the movie, and the word earthquake equals 107, and the building that falls over, it looks a lot like the Comcast Center in Philadelphia. And Philadelphia also has a big connection to San Francisco. You know, think about the Warriors, who were originally from Philadelphia, the Oakland Athletics, who were originally from Philadelphia. And I talked about how in that movie, the grandma is played by Frances Bay. And I was also talking about Pope Francis a lot. Pope Francis is named after St. Francis of Assisi, who San Francisco is also named after. But Francis Bay, and then I was thinking about the Mighty Ducks, and their coach is Gordon Bomb Bay, which makes you think of a bomb at the bay, right? So it's just interesting that Shooter McGavin would also be in the film Dutch, that was written by John Hughes. And in a little bit, I'm going to tell you about well, I'll just tell you right now. In this movie, Drillbit Taylor, that's important to John Hughes and important to Goldberg the Goalie. If you've ever seen that movie, a big piece is all about his pinky finger. He gets the name Drillbit in high school because he injured his pinky finger in by a drill bit in high school, right? And that's where his nickname Drillbit Taylor comes from. And towards the end of the movie, he gets his pinky finger chopped off. So there's something important to pinky finger, right? And if you followed me a long time ago, pinky finger was something important to how I thought Pink would sing the national anthem at the Super Bowl. And there's also, because I was watching the film The Number 23, and in that movie, he writes the book, and his name is Fingerling, and he also shows the gematria of Pink, or he makes Pink equal 23, and he makes it look like a crazy way, when in reality, if you just know gematria, Pink equals 23. But in the reduction method, the Pythagorean method. And anyway, there was also, at that same time, my daughter wanted this toy called a Fingerling, and I never knew what it was. And there was this little finger puppet thing called a Fingerling, and then I randomly watched The Number 23 again, and I noticed this Fingerling thing, and I looked up Fingerling, and it took me to this Dutch movie called Pinkeljai. I think it was Pinkel something, I can't remember how, something like that, Pinkeljai. And when you look up that movie, you find out that the Dutch word for pink is actually this word or something like that. It was all connected to Dutch, right? So that's why I brought up the Dutch thing, because it was important to what I was documenting about with the color pink and Pink the singer. And the reason I'm bringing all this up too is because today we also got this story about Pink and canceling shows at Australia. So, like I said, I will get there, but it's super deep. So, last year too, we also had Goldberg the Goalie getting arrested and sentenced to a 150-day jail sentence, and the word World Series equals 150. And I talked about it in regards to Philadelphia a lot, and and then the Philadelphia Eagles went on to win the Super Bowl, and Philadelphia Eagles equal 150. And remember, Pope Francis, he arrived in Philadelphia in 2015, 863 days before the World Series this year, which is the 150th prime number. And remember, he was supposed to bless Sam Bradford's knees and a bunch of other stuff. So, I also, in this post, I pointed out Drillbit Taylor came out on 3/21, which is also Matthew Broderick's birthday, who's the main character in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So, there's definitely something going on with it. And previously, I talked about the duck boat crash, or the duck boat drowning, and how it happened in Missouri, and Missouri became a state on Rocky Colavito's birthday. It became 112 years old, or became a state for 112 years, and think about the Indians being in the 112th World Series, and that year, 112 days for the 112th World Series, the Indians beat Detroit 1-12. 112. So, just wanted to point that out. We'll go see what I did here. So I wrote this post about Goldberg the Goalie because, I followed this duck theme. We get the duck boat crash, or drowning. I say how it's connected to Goldberg the Goalie, and then now we're getting a mainstream story about Goldberg the Goalie. And I documented about this Mormon bridge just after that. On Facebook, I saw somebody post about this Mormon bridge and how there was pavement failure or something. They had to close it down today. And a while back, I documented about all this bridge symbolism, and possibly it was connected to the Mormon bridge that connects, Iowa to northern Omaha. And the Mormons were the people were brought to this area and the Mormon Trail because of the Omaha Native American people, the Omahas, and there's a whole lot that goes with it, The Mormons believe that the ancient people from Jerusalem came here years ago, and they eventually broke off into sections, which were the Nephites and the Lamanites. And the Nephites were the good people who kept following God, and the Lamanites quit following God, so he cursed them with dark skin, and that's where the Native Americans come from. Right? So a Native American theme. And I talked about Alex Smith right around the same time that we got the stories of Chief Wahoo of the Cleveland Indians being taken away or whatever. We got the story of Alex Smith leaving the Chiefs, reminding us of the Indians, going to the Redskins, reminding us of the Indians. And he went to a Mormon school, basically, Utah. And the coach, Andy Reid, is a Mormon. So there's all this Mormon stuff that's interrelated to the Native American stuff. And I just documented about that really quick because it was just so random that I would just stumble upon this. I've been following this bridge symbolism. The next post I did was about Alex Jones. And I had synchronicity with ducks while writing this blog post. And so let's look at Alex Jones here. Alex Jones, tech giants shut down InfoWars today. And today is the 218th day of the year. That leaves 147 days in the year. And conspiracy theory in Gematria equals 218. And just the word conspiracy equals 147. So an absolute perfect day for this to even come in regards to conspiracy theory. Alexander Jones even equals 147. The word Freemason equals 147. Freemason the small way equals 42. Alex Jones equals 42. InfoWars equal 42. He was born on the 42nd day of the year, and he's even born in Austin, Texas. Austin equals 42. And Austin is important. Now, oh my God. I didn't even document about all of this. Austin is also important here because of the pink symbolism that I'm going to tell you about. Hopefully I'm going to rewatch this video if I forget to talk about it. But remember the Austin bomber this year, he had pink gloves. They found him by his pink gloves. Wow. So, it's crazy. The Austin bomber had pink gloves, and that's really important. So just remember that if I don't bring it back up, because I might forget. But Alex Jones equals 42. Austin equals 42. He was born on the 42nd day of the year, which is also 211. And Wikipedia took it off now. They used to say that his name was spelled this way, Alexander Emmerich Jones, not just Emmerich Jones. But that equaled 211, right? Like the day that he was born. And that's also a number that's important to Freemasonry because 211 is the 47th prime. The Freemason compass set at 47 degrees, the pole star that equals 47. And they like Euclid's 47th problem about the foundation of a perfect square, and foundation equals 47, government 47, president 47, Republican, Democrat, DC. Important number, 47. Also, think about Alex Jones and fake news, right? Supposedly fake news equals 42. False flag equals 147 too. And think about him in regards to 9/11, just being a big advocate for a lot of these events. But the term conspiracy theory, it was actually got its negative connotations from a guy named Richard Hofstadter, who was born on August 6th, today, right? 8/6, the 218th day of the year. Conspiracy theory equals 218. And would you believe that he died 2 months and 18 days after his birthday? So it's all by the numbers. I also pointed out that Alex Jones's name that Wikipedia has it now equals 111, just like InfoWars, just like conspiracy theorist. 111, you know, so even when they change his name, it still syncs up to what he's famous for, you know. So anyway, like I had like so many tabs up here. Earlier I had like even more, and you could barely even make out what they were. And I was trying to get back to my post. I was listening to Robert J. Morris's channel a little bit and listening to people talk about Gematria and whatnot earlier. And I clicked on one, the first one I clicked on, and I must have been on Facebook, you know, from earlier, and I must have stopped on this post here. And I know I didn't watch the video, or maybe I watched part of it and then left the channel so the video stopped. But when I came back, the video started playing, and the first thing I saw was, we're on our way to Duck's Eatery. And I thought, what are the odds? And right when I was typing that in the blog, Robert J. Morris said something about eating or eat, you know, so I was like, there's something important. And what are the odds that I randomly stopped it, didn't even know that I stopped it here, and right when I click on it, the thing comes up and it says, we're on our way to Duck's Eatery. After I've talked a bit about all this duck symbolism, right? Just craziness. So I make this post and I go back to CNN, and the first thing that I see when I'm looking through the articles is this one about Pink and her show's being canceled. And right away it sparked something in my brain. I was like, you know, isn't it interesting that a long time ago I made these videos about Pink singing the national anthem, and I had synchronicity with Alex Jones. So, like I said, I watched, my daughter wanted this fingerling thing, and I watched the number 23 randomly that was about the fingerling. I looked that up, and it was about the color pink, basically, and pinky finger. And I said it made me think of the singer Pink. There's something to do with the singer Pink. And I documented whatever, and then a couple nights later, I was watching one of Zach's videos, and he was talking about Alex Jones being a Zionist shill and whatever, and I had to pee, and I got up and I went pee, and my cat was mad at me because it was sitting on my lap, and I came back and I sat down, and I told the cat, there you go, because he could get up on my lap again. I was like, there you go, and right when I said, there you go, Alex Jones on Zach's video said, there you go. And I was like, well, that's weird. I have some synchronicity with this video with Alex Jones. And later, I can't remember how exactly it all happened. I'll leave the link to the videos. But later that day or that night, I was looking up Pink, and I noticed that her first hit single was actually called There You Go. And I was like, what are the odds, you know, that her first hit single was called There You Go? And at the time, I was documenting all of this stuff about the national anthem and how it was important to why Charles Manson died and his belief of the helter-skelter theory about the blacks rising up. And I talked about all this in October, and then Charles Manson died, and the Super Bowl was all synced up to the kneeling during the national anthem. That's even why we had Justin Timberlake play the national anthem, because the last time he was there, he showed Janet Jackson's boob, and she was singing songs off her album Rhythm Nation 1814 that she says was in honor of the year Francis Scott Key wrote the national anthem, you know. So, it was all super synced up, and it was synced up to the bridge symbolism that happened in Minneapolis on 8-1, and it fell 81 feet and the main trusses were 81 meters long, and it took them 81 minutes to transport everyone to the hospital. And Francis Scott Key's birthday just so happens to be August 1st, 8-1. So that led me to think that Pink was from Philadelphia, who thought would maybe play the Steelers because of the bridge symbolism in the Super Bowl, Philadelphia and the Steelers. But that's what led me to think she was possibly going to sing the national anthem at the Super Bowl. And then a month later, they announced that Pink was going to be the one who sang the national anthem at the Super Bowl. And I was like, how interesting, you know? And what else is interesting in this post where I had this synchronicity? I talked a lot about 9/11 symbolism, something that I've been bringing up a whole lot recently too in regards to the World Series and whatnot. So I'll talk more about that in a minute, but the reason that it's important then, so think about it. Think about how all this played out tonight. I randomly do all of this stuff. It syncs up to Alex Jones. It syncs up to Pink, just like it did when I was talking about Pink singing the national anthem at the Super Bowl. And also, the Goldberg thing, you know, his last film is Drillbit Taylor, that's all about the pinky finger. And the pinky finger was what led me to find a lot of this stuff because of fingerling and Pink and the pinky finger. We also had talked about Pinky and the Brain and trying to take over the world. And we had Bobby the Brain Heenan die, the wrestler. And that Austin bombing was super synced up to WrestleMania 34 and whatnot. And because of, what was his name? Austin, well, I can't remember his name. Something Wyatt Rollins, reminding us of the WWE wrestlers and whatnot. And then he was wearing pink gloves, right? And then in April, we got the pink moon. Also, you know, then think about it. Just think about it. Alex Jones is from Austin, Texas. I mean, I don't know. Just there's something synced up there. I need to think more about it. You know, I just made these posts, but there was also the Austin bomber reminds us a lot of the Boston bomber, right? And remember, after the Boston bombing, the Boston Red Sox went on to, didn't they win the World Series that year? 2013? Can't remember. Let me look it up really quick. 2013 World Series. Pretty sure the Boston Red Sox won. Yeah, the Boston Red Sox won after the Boston bombing. And remember that the Cubs, the standing during the national anthem stuff is synced up to the Boston Red Sox and the Chicago Cubs because they played in 1918, and the game one of that World Series is when it got popular to stand during the Star Spangled Banner. That's where it got popular, and that's the year that World War I came to an end, and this year's the 114th World Series, and World War equals 114. After 9/11, the World Series came to an end on 11/4, and the World Series in 1918, it came to an end on 9/11. So, you know, possibly we'll get maybe we'll get a 9/11 event on November 4th this year. Maybe there'll be a 9/11 type event on November 4th. Something that's synced up to the 114th World Series, but not necessarily at the World Series. Pretty sure November 4th, or maybe it's the 5th. I think November 4th is Egyptian Valentine's Day, which is really important to Stoneman Douglas. I could be wrong, though. I have to relook that up, but, you know, the Stoneman Douglas shooting at Chicago, think about the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Also talked about Rocky and Sylvester Stallone being born on June 6th, which is Valentine's Day in Eastern Orthodox, and Valentine's equals 67, like the date and whatnot. So, it's also, isn't that George Bush's birthday? George W. Bush's birthday, July 6th, so synced up to Valentine's Day, 9/11, World War, all these things are really interrelated. I got a feeling there's going to be an event within the next few months, a big event that's going to go on. Maybe, possibly it'll happen during the national anthem of one of the baseball games, upcoming baseball games, or in the World Series, or, you know, I've been talking a lot about earthquake stuff, and the pink stuff was synced up to earthquake stuff a lot back in what I was talking about in January. So possibly there'll be another earthquake at the World Series. I'm trying to figure it out. So I need a little bit more time to think about it and look into it, but, you know, it's super interesting. And then we got the Austin bomber, and it's reminding me of Alex Jones. And this post with Alex Jones, I talked a ton about 9/11, so I don't know. Where's my old other post here? I want to find my pink one really quick. In the old pink one, I also talked about Roger Waters possibly dying this year as well, because it was synced up. And in that There You Go video, her boyfriend's name was Floyd, right? It's Pink and Floyd, and Roger Waters was 74 years old, and can't remember all what I talked about, but think about Donald Trump and the Wall, and Pink Floyd and the Wall. So possibly we get something like that. Maybe Roger Waters will die this year, or within the next year, or something synced up to the World Series, or possibly to the Super Bowl, or I don't know. We'll see what happens. Also, the date that all of this synchronicity happened with Alex Jones and Pink was on December 8th, and that is the day that the United States declared war on Japan in 1941 after Pearl Harbor. And just Hawaii's been really important this year, the Hawaii missile scare. Then we had the earthquake that I talked about, how there's lots of stuff synced up to earthquakes. Then we actually got one in the United States, a big one. Then we had the volcano stuff going on there. And now there's a hurricane that's heading towards Hawaii. And Pearl Harbor equals 114, 114th World Series. Holocaust equals 114. Kim Jong-un equals 114. The governor of Hawaii, his birthday, I think, is January 15th. And that missile scare was on the 13th. Think about the middle of that. 114. I also saw that the alternative to the word pinky is spelled with a Y instead of an IE, or they wrote both these ways if you look it up. And if you write it with a Y, it equals 519 in Jewish Gematria. And if you write out pinky finger, it equals 519 in Satanic Gematria. And that synchronicity I had with the Mighty Ducks and Sam was on the date of May 19th. And I talked about the duck bus crash that happened on the Aurora Bridge that equals 519 in Jewish Gematria. So 519, something important. It's the 139th day of the year. Freemasonry equals 139. If you go from 519 to today, it's 2 months and 18 days, away from the 218th day. Conspiracy Theory 218. Also, with the drowning theme that I originally talked about, with the duck boat thing, I talked about another story with the XXX Tentacion, or however you say it. I listened to it like 3,000 times and still can't say it right, but I talked about the drowning of his cousin in Jamaica, right? Or supposed drowning of his cousin in Jamaica. And he said that he was going to be sacrificed by Drake. And Drake just so happens to be a male duck, right? So, once again, that drowning theme, a Drake is a male duck. If you look up, I typed in Drake and Pink to see if they had a song together or something, and it brought up this old singer named Nick Drake, who has an album called Pink Moon, so, and there was a pink moon in April this year. So the moon has been really important to it. Also, I started thinking about John Hughes some more, and I was like, He also wrote the movie Pretty in Pink, right? He has all these famous movies. Pretty in Pink. And in the movie Pretty in Pink, her best friend is named Ducky, of all things. Ducky. It's craziness. Pretty in Pink. A while back I wanted to watch Pretty in Pink. I even talked about Molly Ringwald because the word pink equals 50, and Molly Ringwald is currently 50 years old. Let's see if I'll pull that up really quick. Molly Ringwald. I think it was when I was talking about the Austin bomber. Pause it and find it here. Yeah, pink equals 50. Molly Ringwald just turned 50 this year. And look at her birthday. 218. Just like John Hughes' birthday, today's the 218th day of the year. What are the odds of that? You know what I mean? I didn't even blog about this stuff. I'm just noticing as I'm going along now. I started making this video. What? It's craziness. 218. Today's also the anniversary, or August 6th is the anniversary of the atomic bomb being dropped, right? And it's also the anniversary of the World Trade Center being opened in the year 68. Think about her being born in 68. 911 was made the emergency dialing code in 68. I mean, I'm telling you, I feel like there's going to be another 9/11 type event that is coming up. I mean, it seems like I've got a synchronicity because it was something was telling me that something I've been following is coming up in the very near future. So, hopefully nothing seriously bad happens, but, a lot of times it's probably just, people aren't really going to get hurt anyway. I mean, maybe, but maybe they'll shoot my computer and it'll have a, no bullet hole in it. Craziness. I'm sorry for rambling, but 218, John Hughes 218, conspiracy theory 218. Today's the 218th day of the year. I got some more to think about in regards to this. Pink gloves equal 50. And I only brought it up because of this Austin bomber. Because he got caught, because he was wearing pink gloves. It's been a mind-blowing night, I tell you what. Synchronicity, like, at its finest. Also, so, I was reading through Molly Ringwald, and right away they tell you about the beginning of her career, and she was the lead vocalist on 2 Disney albums, on the patriotic album called Yankee Doodle Mickey. She sang "This Is My Country," "The Star-Spangled Banner," "God Bless America." And then she did another one, a Disney Christmas album. And I thought, oh, Star-Spangled Banner, that's pretty important to all this stuff that I'm talking about and what's going on. And I went to YouTube, and I just clicked on the first one that I saw of this video. I typed it in, and the first one I saw, it came to this. And, I mean, I went into the first 3 comments. There's a Cleveland Indian thing on here from 4 years ago. A guy that was a Cleveland Indian avatar here. What are the odds of that? I'm talking about the Cleveland Indians, how it's synced up to all of this. And would you believe that his name here, Lord Jadis, in Gematria equals 624? This humongous number I've been talking about in regards to Freemasonry, the Jesuits, the Cubs, and the Indians being in the World Series. And while I was listening to this song, my girlfriend, she takes her lunch break at like 1 in the morning. And I was sitting on the chair in there earlier. And she came in and she was wearing her pink scrubs. And just this morning when I was at work, this high school girl that I work with, she also works up at the nursing home, and she was wearing purple scrubs. And I said something like, "Oh, you're wearing purple scrubs?" Or I can't remember exactly what led it to it. Something about, I can't remember. Something led me to say something about her purple scrubs. And she's like, "Yeah, I work in the kitchen, so I wear purple scrubs. But CNAs wear pink scrubs, and nurses wear a different color of scrub." And I was like, "Huh, I never thought about it being color coordinated before." And I didn't even think anything about it until my girlfriend came home on her lunch break, and she was wearing her pink scrubs because she's a CNA, right? I'm like, huh, so she's wearing pink scrubs. I just got done documenting all this stuff about pink and these crazy synchronicity things going on. It's absolutely nuts. Also Cleveland, right? Think about Cleveland and cleaving the land and dividing the land. Think about Donald Trump and his connections to Cleveland and, divide and conquer. And pink equals 190, and June 24th leaves 190 days in the year. So there's something super special. And Pretty in Pink, having the main character be Ducky. It's unbelievable. So I'm gonna leave it at that. It's a long video. I'm possibly. I think I might. I think I actually might break these up, or at least break up the Goldberg one and talk about the Goldberg one again, because that one's like super important. And I mean, the odds of me talking about all of the duck stuff and how it's synced up to Goldberg the Goalie, and how Goldberg the Goalie gets in trouble for like a minor offense, and they make it a big media story, and it was all over Facebook and whatnot. Synced up like crazy, and synced up to Synchronicity I had with Sam and the Mighty Ducks, and the number 39, which reminds me of, Chicago or New York and the Yankees and whatnot. So, like I said, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure this puzzle out. I got to think more on it. So, but I had to just make this video because it was going to drive me crazy. I don't even care how late I have to stay up. This is Synchronicity. I probably won't even sleep tonight because it's just blowing my mind with this John Hughes stuff. So, have a good one. Peace.